the world has evolved and our business has changed so much from when I started. It used to be the big thing was, hey, throw events, throw dinners, go do this and that, and try to get retirees to show up and pay for their dinner. And, you do a number of those. And anymore, I don't know what's changed in the psyche of people, but most don't want to do that. They don't want to step out of their, whatever they do in their world, their life. They want to get their information on their phone. They want to listen to podcasts. They want to hear things. They want to, don't want to be inconvenienced as much as, let's say that. There's times when you might have an interesting event that may be a little bit more unique that you might be able to get them to, but it's not what it used to be.
Hello and welcome to another Top Advisor Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Halloran. We talk about niche marketing all the time on this show. And, it's 480 something episodes in, or real close to that. And if you haven't realized that you have to do this in order to truly be at the next level, I'm hoping my next guest will be able to convince you of the power of really focusing on your niche. Now, not just your niche as who your ideal client is, but your niche and how you position yourself from a marketing perspective. Billy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Matt. Really glad to be with you.
Man, when you came through the sales process, and I remember looking at your website and talking to you and your son and the other people in your firm. And I was like, whoa, man, I totally want this guy as a client because of just how clean everything is. But it took you a while to get there. And two, there's a backstory on this specific niche. So I'm being vague for a reason because I want you to tell the story. So Billy, let's talk to our audience about your journey on how you became who you become at your financial services firm.
Yeah, I think I'll start with me kind of wanting to brand myself. I've always kind of been a natural business owner type personality. I wanted to own my own business and kind of control my own destiny. Now, I got into financial services back in late 1996. Actually, it was 97, to be honest. I retired from my career. My first career was a professional racehorse jockey. So I rode horses for a living, fast ones. Now, that doesn't transition cleanly from a jockey into a financial advisor for most people. They wouldn't connect those dots. But for me, I had a background in finance. I had actually gone to school and earned my degree in finance and economics while I was riding and had a great career, to be honest, as a jockey. But I knew that wasn't going to be the end all for me. I wanted to do this. I wanted to get into the financial services business. I really enjoyed it. I love investing. I love helping other people make money and create wealth. So fast forward, I got my first job with Payne Weber in Long Beach, California. So I was working in the brokerage channel. A lot of people start their careers out that way, and it was much different then. Of course, they did all of the work. You received a phone and a computer and a small cubicle. So I worked there for a couple of years, moved back to Utah, my home state. I stayed with Payne Weber, and then I moved to Smith Barney. I thought there was more opportunity there with what they were doing. And ultimately, going through the big recession in 2008, I realized, you know what, these firms, they say a lot of things, but they might not be able to do a lot of things the way I would prefer to do them. They got in a lot of hot water, obviously, mismanaging their own money. And I had a hard time telling clients, we're really good. You're going to really do well with this firm, and then have the firm in the headlines with terrible results from their own mismanagement of their own funds. So I wanted to move into this more independent channel. And I talked to a bunch of firms, and I settled with Raymond James. And the reason I did goes to your question. They offered the best marketing of any company that I interviewed. Their discussion with me about branding my firm and making it unique to me and kind of bringing out the essence of who I was and who I wanted to attract as clientele. So it was like, hey, we're going to help you build your own website. We're going to brand. You're going to be like, have your own feel. And it was really the decision maker for me. There's a lot of great firms I could gone with, But Raymond James they had what I was looking for there from the marketing standpoint. Now, keep going a little further, and I decided to go fully independent here in 2020, of course, when everybody was kind of coming to a screeching halt on a lot of things, and there was a lot of free time. So we went to the RIA channel and created our own website and a whole bunch of other things around that. We've always done a lot of marketing. I've always really thought that's how to stand out and be unique and attract attention. And so we've tried to be ahead of that. A lot of social media posts were active there. I wrote my first book in 2019. So just before that, and it was published, called Harnessing Your Wealth. And I recall that you and your group came to a conference in Salt Lake City. Now, I can't remember exactly what year it was, 2022 maybe, something like that. And we met you, and you were telling us about having your own podcast. And of course, these types of things speak to me, because here's another opportunity to reach an audience, to tell them what we do and to help other people. I've always been interested in helping other people accomplish things that I've been able to figure out in my life. And so we started the podcast, and then I wrote my second book, and there's just a lot going on, but I always want to keep driving. So I think branding and continuing to tell people who you are and what you do never ends.
Yeah. So harnessing your wealth, and you really leaning into the fact that, you were a professional jockey, is really big. And I know that there are a lot of our listeners right now who are saying, there are so many upper echelon, high performing athletes who become financial services professionals. And I know you're probably we weren't planning on me asking this question, but why do you think that is? Why do you think there's so many like Div 1 athletes or professional athletes like you were, or professional basketball players and football players who become financial services professionals? Why do you think that is?
I've heard that before, and I think sometimes it gets a bit of a overhype, overblown, because there are these folks who now become these niche market experts, so to speak. If you look at it on a relative basis, though, I think it's probably about in line with every other industry.
Okay.
And we've probably heard a number of horror stories. I know I have. I don't know about you, but horror stories with professional athletes, celebrities who've been duped, who've been shammed, who've been scammed, who've been taken advantage of. And in our industry, as you're probably well aware, there are a number of people who take advantage and who lack in morals and ethics.
Sure.
And so they see people who maybe don't have a lot of understanding or knowledge and kind of trust in what's going on, and just turn the reins and hand everything over to somebody that they feel is going to take care of them. And one thing leads to another. And when people get too much trust and they don't have the ethics, bad things happen. Bad things can happen. I mean, there's a lot of examples throughout history. I mean, we can go hundreds of years into this.
Sure.
Great conversation starter. I have a chapter dedicated just to that in my book. Back to the Bernie Madoff days, and even here recently, when you have Shohei Ohtani, famous MLB baseball player, who supposedly turned all his financial matters over to his friend and translator, and see what he almost lost his entire career over that deal.
Yeah. Okay. So how did Raymond James opened the door for you to be able to market, and then you guys became your own RIA, and let's talk about what you're doing from a marketing perspective, because you guys, this is a terrible analogy. You're not a one-trick pony here, dude. You're really firing on a lot of the marketing cylinders. So let's talk about what you're actively doing, and more importantly, what are the results of the activity that you have to help you grow your firm?
I had a friend who's a financial advisor at Raymond James a few years ago, and when we were still under their channel. So we were an independent financial firm under their RIA. And we'd go to these different conferences. We qualify for the different awards trips every year. And I was writing a book. That was my first book, and I was telling him about it. And a few months later, it was published, and he was contacting me and said, well, how are your sales? And I said, they're okay. I'm not trying to become a New York Times bestseller. Really? Why would you do that? I mean, I don't understand why you spend so much time to write if you're not going to make money. And I said, you don't get it. I'm making money indirectly, not directly through the sales of the book. I'm making money through credibility that I'm receiving by having a book out, by becoming an author, by becoming a so-called expert. And it's different how people look at you and perceive you once you have done something like that. You write a book, you're on a webcast, you're on the news. I had a lot of opportunities come out from that, just being on the news and having people interview me. And then, of course, you get some recognition by telling people, hey, I'm an author. Now I have this. And I received a whole host of new opportunities, new clients. And I think we linked about $20 million in new assets just in that first 18 months from writing the book. So how did I get paid? Well, it wasn't from book sales necessarily, but it's from the credibility that you receive from it. So just doing a lot of things like that. They don't sometimes come super quick. It's not a immediate gratification, if you will. There are going to be months of delay. And as you probably would attest, even podcasting takes time. You have to develop, you have to continue to grind, you have to continue to reach an audience and build an audience, and it's not an instant thing. So you continue to lay the groundwork, but you can't quit. I think if you start a project, you want to do the best you can and keep finding ways to improve. So we've hired a marketing professional here. I have a marketing person that's just dedicated to that, like trying to improve our website, trying to help us post social media. So she's got campaigns going every week, trying to help things like Google ads. That's a whole interesting can of worms itself, figuring out, keywords and who's going to call you for what. Do you pay for certain ads and keywords, and what works and what doesn't work? Lots going on there. And I don't claim to be an expert, but I want to be involved, and I want to test things out, and I want to look for opportunities. The world has evolved, and our business has changed so much from when I started. It used to be the big thing was, hey, throw events, throw dinners, go do this and that, and try to get retirees to show up and pay for their dinner. And, you do a number of those. And anymore, I don't know what's changed in the psyche of people, but most don't want to do that. They don't want to step out of their whatever they do in their world, their life. They want to get their information on their phone. They want to listen to podcasts. They want to hear things. They want to. Don't want to be inconvenienced as much as, let's say that. There's times when you might have an interesting event that may be a little bit more unique that you might be able to get them to, but it's not what it used to be.
It's interesting to see how the pendulum swings on those sorts of marketing things, right? There are times where people are just killing it with dinner seminars, and then there's times where people are killing it with like the 3-part educational series at universities, and buying leads, and Google ads and Facebook ads and all of that sort of stuff. And one of the things that we have been very impressed with your firm specifically is your agility, and you're also willing to not throw the baby out with the bathwater, but to really stick with things long enough to make sure that you're testing them and seeing that they work. And Billy, you know this well, that's not normal, dude. Like, most entrepreneurs it's just like your friend talking about the book, right? How have you built that discipline within your firm to maintain these big picture marketing strategies to make sure that they are working in the way that you guys want them to? Where did that come from?
It's a great question, and I've thought about that myself. I maybe go back to my career as a jockey for a minute. You don't become a jockey and a professional athlete and achieve immediate success like you're the best in the world. It takes so much time, and you go through so much failure. But the winners fail to quit. And the losers, they quit immediately and they never reached the success that they could have achieved. So I always had the mindset of get back in the saddle, get back in whatever, you get thrown off, you lose the race, things go bad, horribly wrong. But they're in the mind of somebody who wants to win, there is no quit. And so you just keep going and you keep driving and things eventually start to come together. It's amazing, the miracle of the universe, of what can work for you. And even when you least expect it, when things don't look like they're even possible, when it just looks like it's not meant to be, it comes together in unique ways. And I can relate so many stories that just happened when I wasn't really expecting it. I was believing, I continued to have faith in the outcome, the end result that I wanted. And I carried that mindset for my entire life, from riding racehorses to getting into this career. I looked at it. There was no failure. Failure is not an option. And when I got into this career, I had no clients, obviously. And they gave me this short window of, you need to have $12 million in assets. If you don't have that within 18 months, I'm sorry, but your job is terminated. $12 million back when I started, that was a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, man.
And I'm figuring it out, and I'm bringing in $5,000 accounts, IRAs and opening, but that's not going to get you there very quickly. So, you keep going, but you never stop. You never stop to think about, can I do this, or am I going to fail? It wasn't an option. And if it's never an option, then it won't be. And you will find that way. The outcome that you want is there. You just have to select it. You just have to get there, be present enough to find it. And that's what I say is worry will kill you. If you start letting worry take over, it'll kill your wealth opportunities. It'll kill your career. It'll kill your health. So many people, and I've had these experiences myself with health outcomes, because I worried about things and excessively, and I didn't understand the correlation between health and the anxiety, the worry, the negative emotions. But I do now, and there's a huge section in my book talking about that too.
Yeah, so we've got Harnessing Your Wealth, and then you have a second book, right? So you didn't even say what that was. So
yeah, it's called From the Starting Gate, and that's the one where I cover all three pillars of a successful life. So I touch on the wealth aspect again, but I also go deep into the health, and finally into the manifesting of miracles and how that all comes about, and why we're starting to see more and more in that area, of that niche of genre of books and authors who talk about the universal forces and kind of thinking your way into the reality that you want. And it is so fascinating to see it, because now science is starting to catch up. It's so hard to bring it all together, but when you start to understand that there's frequency, there's universal laws, there's frequency out there, and if you can tap into it, we all understand and believe in gravity. We can't see it, but we damn sure know it's there. And it's the same concept with this whole vibration of thoughts. Thought alone is the most powerful force. It's far more powerful than gravity. Thought alone can travel as far as you want it to. So just bringing those kind of conscious thoughts, getting them so tight and deep into your subconscious, that's where the miracles can begin to happen. I found that out. I learned through many of my own difficulties, but there's so much that is available to us if we would just allow ourselves to tap into it.
Yeah. How in the world did you find the time? And your books aren't small, dude. Like, these are like books. How did you? And Billy, honest, I get asked this all the time. I published 2 books. My third one's coming out this fall. I know what it's like to write. You know what it's like to write in. Advisors will ask me all the time, how do you find time to do it? How do you do it? You're not a professional writer. Would you mind just giving us how did you execute these 2 books, man?
Yeah. One of those things that just got it into my mind. I wanted to write a book, and this was before I wrote my first one. But we can all have these thoughts and then never carry them out.
Sure.
So I've I don't know. Something in me always said, I am not a fan of the idea of saying you're going to do something and never do it.
Mm.
I kind of think, oh, that's a BS way to live your life. Always talking about what you're going to do, but you always have an excuse why you didn't do it. So when I vocalize something, I'm going to verbalize something. I'm going to hold myself accountable. And I said, I want to write a book, but I didn't know how to do it. Well, this is what I'm talking about. Have manifesting all these things to start all of a sudden unlocking doors. I had no idea how to write a book. I didn't even know where to start. And guess what, Matt? I talk about writing a book. I start thinking about writing a book, and I go to a Raymond James conference. Guess what one of the sessions was on?
Writing a book.
How to write a book. And so here's these guys that started this company called Scribe Media.
Yep.
And they were experts in writing books. And they had written a book called How to Write Your Own Book. It was phenomenal. Now, you tell me how this stuff all comes together. Just at the time when I'm starting to think about, and I really want to get focused on writing a book. So I read their book and I just kind of followed their procedure step by step. It was just laid out. Here's what you've got have to do. Get your outline, kind of develop your manuscript. You got to have it organized. But then there's all the technical aspects to it. How are you going to polish it up? How are you going to create a cover design? Who's going to edit everything for you, copy edit it? And then also, of course, you have to have interior and your exterior edits. Then you have to have a publishing company. If you don't know how to do that, well, here's how you do it on Amazon. Publish your own book. But a lot of technicalities there you wouldn't ever understand. Finding, creating an ISBN number and how to get it listed and all the technicalities from the Amazon site, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that was a learning experience. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's easy. I talk about it's difficult. It is not an easy endeavor, but the challenges are things that I enjoy. I enjoy a challenge. And I always want to say that I didn't back down from a challenge. I took it upon myself to finish it. I've ran 100-mile race, and that was definitely not an easy experience either. So maybe it's just that I enjoy things like that. But going back to my earlier comments is when you are ready and you verbalize and you put that out there and you continue to focus on it, the doors will open for you.
I always joke with, I shouldn't say now, when I was a coach, when an advisor would have an idea, one of the things that I would say is, okay, you just spoke that into existence. You need to buy the URL. So, they would come up with like a great, process or a marketing idea or, some of those things. And so, or a catchphrase, branded language. And I'll be like, okay, no, listen, you can't wait. Now it's out there. And they always laughed at that. And then, some of them wouldn't execute on that. And maybe like 3-4 days later, I try to go buy the URL and it's gone. Like it just sold. And I'm like, guys, you don't understand how all of this works. And I don't necessarily think that we can fully grasp on how all of it works, but it is there and it is a power and a force that we have to pay attention to. So you are a juggernaut when it comes to making sure that you maintain that focus, you manifest the things and you get the stuff done. What's next for you, man?
What's next for us is we really want to become $1 billion company. That's our plan. I have several goals, both personal and professional. And, we talk about them as a staff. We have a staff meeting every Monday and we continue to talk about it. I'm a firm believer in what you put out there and what you focus yourself and your attention and your energy on brings those things back to you. If you focus on what you have, your positive, focus on the gratitudes, more of the same comes. If you focus on what you lack and what you don't have and what you're miserable about, more of the same comes to you. So you manifest whatever it is that you focus on. And I want to focus on what we have, what we're grateful for, what we're continue to do and help people accomplish. So our firm is really growing. We're in good growth mode. We've hired another young financial advisor to help build that. We have a full staff now. I've just expanded my office, did a big remodel, which took a while. And so we are at that point. I say, build it and let things develop and let them come. You can't be scared. I think fear kills a lot of dreams.
Sure.
So those are the things we want to do, is continue to build the clientele. We serve a lot of folks who are in the high net worth industry who are involved in horse racing. Of course, that's a big part of my background.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of an instant niche for me. It wasn't easy, calling people up as a jockey and hoping that they would give you even passing time of day. Most of them just hung up on me. You're a jockey. What do you know about doing this? But you continue to get a few breaks and a few more, and then credibility builds and referrals, and you do the right thing and continue to do the right thing. You don't take shortcuts. And from there, that's the kind of business that I want to build. A lot of personal goals. I mean, I'm still involved in horses and have my own race horses now. So it's kind of a fun activity for me and my family to do. I have a ranch that away from the office that I develop and raise young horses. And so it's kind of full circle. I grew up around horses. I built my career, my notoriety and my name with horses. And now I get to participate in that business myself.
Yeah. Well, I think it's fantastic. And I love, and I doing the right thing in all of those things are the foundational purpose of the firm. And I think what a lot of advisors think that they're already doing, but one of the reasons you are so successful is because you have that branded language. You've got all of the social proof surrounding to support the branded language. And you're very, very transparent in your journey and why you created the brand in the way that you did. And when you build, we've talked about this on the show before, but when you build such a strong brand foundation, which you have, you can do whatever the heck you want on top of it, right? Because you have such strong, pillars into the ground and the foundation and the team that you're consistently reinforcing these messages and all of those things. You're ticking all of the boxes, which is why I really wanted to have you on the show. I really wanted, people to hear that, one, you got to put the time in. Number two, you've got to have the myopic focus. Whatever brand you build, if it can be built around your story about who you are and what makes you tick, that's going to resonate. And then other people can hitch their wagon again to your story, which is what your other advisors have done. Because again, it's all about making sure that you're really taking your wealth to the next level. And then I think that's what you guys do. So, all right, Billy, if anybody wants, one, to order a copy of either of your books, or two, find out more about your firm, where should they go?
Well, there's a couple of different websites. My personal site for my books and kind of learn about my books and how to order them is billypetersonauthor.com. And our website for our firm is petersonwealthservices.com. You can also follow us on any social media of your choice. We have Instagram, of course, we have the LinkedIn, you have X and Facebook, and we share a lot of things and stories. We have blog posts that we put videos on all the time. And then, of course, we have the Harnessing Your Wealth podcast, which you and your team do a great job to help us utilize and promote out there to the world. So all of those things are how you can connect with us.
And please, I really want our listeners to get done with the show today, jump on their phone or their computer and see all of the things that your firm is doing and seeing all of the consistency, continuity, and power that goes into having such a clear and distinct brand message. So Billy, man, thank you for being a client. Thank you very much for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom with our audience. I really, really appreciate it.
Hey, glad to be here, Matt. You get a few more bobbleheads there on that shelf, all right?
Listen, I have my own bobblehead built in here, my friend. And listen, if you are all trying to figure out what you can do to truly have a brand foundation like what Billy's built, you can do it in the Pod Rocket Influence Academy. We've got unbelievable resources for you, including all sorts of Ask an Expert and office hours that we offer our clients in the Pod Rocket Academy every single solitary month. 34 plus courses, 8 hours of time to be able to talk to me and my team to make sure that you can find out how you can brand yourself in the way that you want to, so that when you have your long form content marketing strategy, it's built on an amazing foundation. So for Billy and all of us here at ProudMouth, this is Matt Halloran, and we'll see you on the other side of the mic very soon.